You're in charge of committee with WDA. All right. You guys got this. We're out.
Okay.
You're in charge of meeting.
Okay. Two more. Next. Yeah. So next a week. Right. They're like, oh, I'm not. Why don't we have a little compare deck?
Yeah. What are you doing? Yeah. What do you think about this?
Okay. They
So they want to know what they can do to help people so overall, we'll say yeah.
Gone after having judged last week's debate, have gone incognito. They've gone like side screen. See, she's over there. She wants to be outside the splash zone, obviously. All right, we welcome you.
Very, very, very. Is this better? No.
Good, much better.
Okay,
Nice to see you.
Sorry. So we'll do our best. Okay. I guess patience.
Hi, Jamie.
Hi.
Oh. Did we get your paperwork figured out yet?
No. We're gonna call after class, right?
I'll do
That's
it. Just pay attention.
Okay. So give it to you now?
No.
Nice meeting you. I don't understand where
Bracket Buster's already today. See, it's got
Who played?
well,
I got to the playing.
two number
Thursday.
three seats already got taken out.
Cool.
Ooh, I had,
Somebody take out Kentucky real quick.
yeah.
No, because I don't like Kentucky, but I picked them. So, but I'd be okay if they lost.
Ashley Judd or whatever it is, the big Wildcat fan.
She is.
So many people for that trade. Okay, you guys, is everybody ready to kind of kick off this show? Get to some persuasion? We're all excited about it?
Yay!
So up on the screen, I hope everybody can see that. Give a shout if you don't see the can of Campbell's tomato soup, the bottle of Heinz tomato ketchup, and the can of Hunt's tomato paste. Question is, what in the world do these products have to do with today's conversation? Anybody have a shout out as to what they think the answer to that question would be?
Tomato.
Tomatoes. Rotten tomatoes is the topic for today. Am I going to write my persuasive thing and somebody's going to come back and say that's a rotten tomato? No. No, decidedly not that. You guys are going to be brilliant in your writing. We're going to come back to the conversation about Campbell's, Heinz, and Hunt's in just a minute. Before we go into that, I just wanted to cover what we're doing today. What I elected to do for today was to write things in a little bit of a different way, kind of the learning objectives. So we're hoping that as a basis of what we do today, that you can remember the categories of debate first extolled by Aristotle. We're hoping that you can apply your understanding of these debate categories to analyze persuasion in today's world. And then we're going to pretty soon after then move us into creating a persuasive essay in 40 minutes, demonstrating your mastery, argumentative writing form. That's what we're here to do today. So we're going to have a brief conversation about persuasion, then we're going to move right off into persuasive writing. We'll come back after that and do a quick exit slip and talk about your assignment moving forward for session 15. Does that all make sense, everybody?
Yeah.
So I invite everybody to chime in because they're experts in Aristotle way more than I would happen to be. So if you know something about Aristotle, please don't let me fall flat here. But my understanding is that he's this kind of ancient Greek dude who came out and said, hey, look, if we're going in to do an argument of any kind, persuasion of any kind, what we can do is we can go ahead and divide persuasion into appeals of 3 different types: ethos, pathos, and logos. What do those 3 terms mean? Anybody?
Ethical, logical, and emotional.
And feeling, yeah, emotional.
So ethos,
Ethical.
ethical?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Pathos, what's that?
Emotional.
Feelings or emotion.
Feelings or emotion, very, very good. And then logos?
Logic.
Logic? Good. I always remember it. Ethos, ethics, pathos, passion, logos, logic. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah. So you guys are using this a lot, right? You had it in another presentation today?
And my students produced it today in that presentation.
Students did. Okay. All right. So this is old hat for some of us. Just to go through each one real briefly, when we're thinking about writing persuasively, what we're going to do is we can think of those 3 categories as 3 different ways that we can express ourselves. We can come at it from a credible perspective. Oh, I'm an expert in the field. So we tend to believe people whom we respect, but if you're not an expert in the field, that can kind of fall flat. So you have to kind of be careful about that. You have to be kind of at the top of your game or the king of the hill in order to argue from a standpoint of credibility. Or, as scholars do, and Dr. Broadway can talk to this, what you're going to be looking for is to cite published scholars who have written on these topics, and they possess the credibility, and you're kind of citing upon their work. Pathos, this idea of emotion, means persuading by appealing to the reader's emotions, obviously. We can look at texts ranging from essays to advertising. Language choice affects the audience's emotional response. So what we're really doing is we're really pulling at heartstrings here. And I like this definition in that it refers to the idea of advertising actually being the industry of persuasion. And so much of what's done in advertising comes from that kind of idea of trying to invoke passion in people. And you could just think of Nike's Just Do It would be a really great example. And then logos, course, the logic and that kind of reasoning gives reasons to the heart of argumentation. It's important to study the types of support you can use to substantiate your thesis and look at some of the common logical fallacies in order to avoid them in your writing. So we have logic, we have passion, we have ethics that we can look to as being ways that we can write the persuasive arguments that we're going to be doing today, right? So let's go back to this. I want you to take a look at these three products really, really closely. Here's the funky fact about Campbell's, Heinz, and Hunt's. This is true. Campbell's, since the beginning of time, has made soup. Heinz, since the beginning of time, has sold ketchup. And Hunt's, from the beginning of its time, has sold tomato paste. And if you turn these products around and were to look at the back and the label, what you'll find out is that each of these products contains about the same ingredients. Now here's where it gets weird. The weird thing is that through the years, Campbell's has made many attempts to make and sell Campbell's ketchup and Campbell's tomato paste. Heinz, through the years, has tried to make soup, and Heinz has tried to make tomato paste. Hunt's has tried to make soup and ketchup. They've all tried to make each other's products. What do you think happened every time that they tried that?
They failed. It didn't work.
It didn't work.
They failed.
Louder?
They failed.
They failed. Absolutely, they fell flat. Why would that be so? They all have the same ingredients.
Because we associate the name with the product.
Associate the name with the product. What else? Study them closely.
Brand credibility.
Brand what?
Credibility.
Credibility of brand. Very good. That's true. That's true. Campbell stands for something. Heinz stands for something. Hunt's stands for something. What else?
They couldn't convince people to buy the other products.
And why so?
Yes, ineffective marketing.
Ineffective marketing. Well, Campbell's, they're doing pretty well with marketing of soup, right?
Right.
Loyalty of the customers.
Loyalty of the customers. These are all good responses. Here, I want you to look really, really closely at all three labels. Study them, memorize them. What's on each label?
Something involving health, the healthy aspects?
You guys are on the right trail. I want to ask the question this way.
Oh, okay. I think I got it.
Can you see the question on your screen? Pick one. Does Campbell sell logic? Does Campbell sell passion? Or does Campbell sell credibility?
Mm-hmm.
You buy it every week at the store, or every other week, I'll bet you. If you like soup. No, he's sitting here saying, no way. I don't Makes your mouth wet.
I mix it.
Or you make it. That's awesome. I'm coming to your house. Did you guys all pick one? Okay, none of us said that Campbell sells logic. That's interesting.
Thought about it because it's like
All right, some of us said that Campbell sells passion, and most of us said Campbell's sells credibility. And 2 of us decided not to answer so far. Okay, so let's think about this for a second. If you answered that Campbell's sells credibility, what makes you say that? What is it that made you answer in that regard?
We have to do it in order to.
I answered credibility simply because it's been around the longest. And it's soup, and I'm a soupaholic.
Soupaholic, and it's been around for the longest. Okay, anybody else? If you answered that it was Campbell sells credibility, we could say the brand's been around the longest. What else? Anything?
You associate the brand with the product. Campbell's soup.
So you'd have to tell me more. What you thinking? You associate Campbell's with soup, so when you think of soup, that's the credible choice.
Yes.
Does that sound right?
Correct.
When I was little, I remember seeing the Campbell Soup commercials that said that Campbell soups were good. So if you're gonna say that your soup is good, it had better be. Otherwise, nobody's gonna eat it.
Yeah, and Campbell's, and like Hunt's sells other things. Like they sell also Manwich, which is sloppy Joe, which is not soup. So it's like Campbell's, you hear the word Campbell's and you think soup.
You know,
We're so logical here.
and ketchup. I do ketchup.
All right, here's another question for you. What you think? We think Heinz sells credibility too. And I'll bet it's the same people saying the same thing. I got one more question for you.
I didn't say credibility.
All right, people are saying Heinz for passion. Okay. All right, hang on. Whoops, did I screw that up? Okay. I'm going to lock that. Okay, let's do one more. Think of the product. Think of the label. Hunt's sells logic. We got some people saying that now. If you answered that Hunt's sells logic, what made you say that?
Oh, I picked it. I eat a lot of pasta, and I know that the Hunt's brand is very inexpensive. So if I am trying to be economical in my purchase, then I will choose that brand.
Okay, excellent response.
Yeah, I agree. And the way it's packaged, I don't know.
Anybody else want to make a comment for why they made any of the choices that they made?
I want to comment about my passion one. And they put tomatoes pictures on it, which makes you think of like a tomato garden and Italian people picking them and making Italian sauce and all kind of Italian and tomato-y. So to me, that's like passion.
Excellent comments. Excellent analysis. Is there a right answer to this question or not?
No.
No.
No? Would it surprise you to know that in advertising businesses all over the world, these 3 products are studied and there is an answer that the advertising industry has arrived at. Huh?
Broadway, trying to cut in. Before you move on and sort of answer this or bring us to closure, one of the OSs. Hello?
Yes?
One of the OSs that you don't have is Eros.
Eros is
Okay.
love.
Yeah, or sex. So could either one of those three be sexy?
Yeah, the one in the back.
I think Heinz
Yeah.
label is.
That's why I think it's passion.
What?
That's why I think it's passion. The Heinz
Her husband's work.
When I read this, that's the one, because of my work in curriculum studies, that's the one that we usually don't talk about, especially with middle schoolers.
Okay. So let's go ahead. You should have a space on your screen, do you? Go ahead and answer which one you think is the sexiest.
You mean like the label?
Because sex sells.
The ketchup.
Hey, if you can put a puppy dog or a baby in your ad, you'll sell your product.
I'm sorry.
Oh, it's the green and the red and white.
So the question is, which is the sexy?
We are so silly.
This is awesome. Sit in a college class and get credit for deciding which of these three products is sexiest.
Not a doubt.
That's so sexy because the bottle is shaped like a woman's body. That's a great response. Heinz label is sexiest with the bold black and white lettering, and the shape of the label is sophisticated looking too. We'll come back to
See? See?
Heinz is doing really well. Look at this, you guys.
It's squeezable. Wow.
That happy.
Well, you started that.
Oh my goodness.
Wow, Heinz is
that?
really.
The fruit hanging from the vine. Hunt's is sexy due to the plump, juicy tomato.
It's a regular class, I guess, huh?
Campbell's is definitely not sexy. Look at that.
Some of these need to be deleted quickly.
Wait, did you see someone say Campbell's is definitely not sexy?
Wait, we need to go back and read this one again. This
Heinz tomato sauce.
is sexy due to the fruit taken from the vine.
What's that feeling?
I love it.
The plump, juicy tomato on the front. These are really great
I
comments.
feel my grandma, and that's definitely not
Yeah, they
sexy.
do it on Heinz.
I love it. Oh,
That's where they have those tomatoes nowadays.
oh, that's nice. Oh, I like what he's got going on. Right.
Wow, Heinz.
2-1. Heinz won that.
The Heinz, hands down. Catch, I was gonna put they're hot and not for the taste, but okay.
That's really funny.
So let's come back here for a second. From a case history standpoint, these three products have failed in trying to launch products in other categories And the reason, according to people that work in the advertising industry, is each has chose a different category of persuasion upon which to rest their brand marketing efforts. Each one has decided something completely different. So if you look at Heinz, and if you think about Heinz, let's begin there, right?
Yeah.
So ever since the beginning of time, Heinz has always said, you see it right underneath their name, 1869, or 1859. Yeah, 1869? 1869. That's always been a part of the Heinz brand. You can believe in us because we've been here since 1869. We've never changed our logo. We've never changed our label. We've never changed our product. It's always been the same. If I explain it to you this way, which of the three do you think that they're claiming as territory?
Heinz.
Heinz is claiming which of the three categories of persuasion?
Credibility.
Credibility. Credibility, exactly. That's the credible brand, okay? If you look at Campbell's, and if you think about Campbell's back through history, soup is good food. Okay? If you look at, and there was a giveaway that I gave you earlier, you'll always find something like a heart on the Campbell's label. If I'm going to put a heart on my label, and if I'm going to say, soup is good food, and if I'm always going to show mom and dad preparing soup for the kids, what does that sound like?
Passion.
Yeah.
Passion.
Feelings and sympathy.
You notice at the grocery store the next time that you go, and this label is actually not a very good example, but every label that you ever see for Hunt's will give you product suggestions of what you can do with the tomato paste. They know that people buy tomato paste based on what you can do with it, what's in it, what the composition of the paste is, and so forth. What does that sound like?
Logic.
Logic, right. So what happens is, and we do this all day long with all of the products that we buy, we make decisions we don't even think about in terms of the selection of products, and oftentimes it's being driven by what a brand or what somebody wants us to be thinking about, and we just do it. We just step through the grocery store aisle, and we grab that brand on the shelf, and we don't even know a lot of times what we're being persuaded by. It becomes natural, it becomes inbred. Well, here's kind of the reason that I want us to start out with this. Is that if you look historically at these three products, if they take a stand on something, if their brand becomes founded on it, you can't be more than one thing to people. Think about it. I drive a Jeep. That means I want to go be free and do adventures and stuff. If I wear Nike, that means I want to go out and be, just doing it. And for every product or service that you buy, there is something that you are actually buying that underlies the product itself. There's a persuasive mechanism to it. And once you own that space, you don't go somewhere else. This matters in your persuasive voice. This matters in the way that you write. Are you a person that's arguing principally and foremost? Are you waging an argument that's a passionate argument? Are you a person that's waging a logical argument? Right? Mm-hmm. Are you a person that's waging an expert or credible argument? I want you to think about that as you're kind of weaving together this narrative piece, because one of those wants to naturally raise to the forefront. One of those naturally wants to be the place that you choose to make your grand stand. Now, you can go off and you can argue other things to a lesser degree, but something's going to come to the fore. You're doing persuasive writing. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So with that, here's what we're doing. Here's what we're doing for our third persuasive prompt. The topic, it's open-ended. Tomorrow's advantage. Tomorrow's advantage. Write a persuasive essay in 40 minutes. Argue in favor of an advantage to be gained tomorrow through embrace of an upside of your inquiry statement. Your essay must include 3 or more reasons in favor of your argument and cite at least one major counterargument against which you defend. Does that make sense?
No.
Say it one more.
Okay. Argument, or can we do counterclaims with that 3 reasons?
Melanie's asking if we can do counterclaims within our 3 or whether we should do that separate, and the answer is that's entirely up to you. Now, as you guys are kind of thinking about and we're preparing to write now, what I'd ask you to do is think back for a minute. When I think back to when Dr. Churro was here and he had a, kind of winter cap on and he was kind of like moving around the room and stuff because he's so excited about the stuff that he talks about. What he was saying is, if you can lift an argument to life, if you can make an argument a living experience, maybe it's a debate, maybe it's something else, maybe it's walking in the shoes of Thoreau like he did. That's a powerful way to persuade, is by your lived experience. Thinking back to Stephanie's poem in the waiting room, how powerful is that as a lived experience? How persuasive a voice is that? Keep in mind your own voice, the strength of which we're starting to see now that everybody's growing more comfortable with one another across these 3 classrooms. And we saw that in the John Brown argument. You guys got really excited about that. So what is that in your voice that you can allow to show through when you're crafting a persuasive piece? And lastly, please keep in mind those 3 categories, but realize that within the context of your argument, one of them is going to shine more than the other 2. It's just natural that it's going to work that way. Don't try to be all things to all people. Try to be very powerful on a point and in one of those categories, and your writing will be stronger. So that said, what I'm going to do is set the timer. We've got 40 minutes. You're welcome to work in any platform that you like. When we're completing this, about 10 minutes after 5 then, what we'll be doing is to get those uploaded to our wiki pages. Okay? Mm-hmm. Please begin. Thank you.
So we're typing office, right? I still don't know how to get stuff in there. Can you show me anything that's nice? Because I really don't know how to do it from my computer first. But I don't how to get it from my person. Okay. No worries. Mm-hmm. I have a program outside there, and that's how you do it. I have 8 people signed up. Yeah. Okay. I will. Yeah. Okay.
Got about 5 minutes left, just so you know.
Wait, I'm trying. This is taking a lot longer.
I do what I do and I just spit ideas out and see where it goes.
Okay, so we're about at the end of our 40-minute stretch. Is everybody tired?
Yes.
Tired? No? You could go. You could keep going.
I'll finish this.
I want to give you guys a break from writing for a second and from sore fingers for a second. Writing is hard work, right? So next week we get into the kind of the close of the class, and I want to talk a little bit about kind of where we go, where we're headed, and maybe I thought this would be a chance to kind of get some input from you. So, based on the work that we've done so far, the ideal would be that you are looking at your wiki page with respect to having these 6 elements in there. Now, I include everything like your thing link, you got that, and that's kind of embedded in some of your work and so forth. But, and there's we talked about, picture poems and that kind of stuff. You are welcome, and we would like for you to kind of include all of the kind of writing and creating or commenting that you've been doing as part of the class. What I list up here on this page are kind of 6 items that it would be extremely helpful if all of us participating in the course would go ahead and get logged up there and have this ready to go by the time we come into class on Tuesday. So the introduction to yourself, I think Garth talked about that, the idea of, hey, share a few things. And I've noticed on some pages people have gone ahead and posted that. It doesn't necessarily need to be in kind of an A, B, and C answer format, but if you just give us, kind of a look-see of who you are, where you come from, and what your thoughts were coming into the class, that's helpful. Second is this idea of the inquiry post that's really driven what it is that you've been doing from a writing perspective. And then in consequence to that inquiry statement, then what are the 3 forms of writing that you've developed in the class? Your informational, your narrative, and your persuasive. Now, point number 6 is really the meat and potatoes of next week. Right? So we've talked, and today I was going back and I was thinking about all the experiences that have taken place in this class over 8 weeks. Right? I mean, John Brown and the Dam, last week's debate, and some great speakers, Dr. Broadway, Dr. Chura, Mike Feaches, Garth. A lot of stuff that we've covered in this class. Really what it boils down to is, what is it that you can do? What is it that you can do with this type of learning experience? And that has implications in several ways, perhaps. If you're a teacher, you maybe read this in one way. What can I do and carry into the classroom based on what we talked about? If I'm a librarian doing my job in a library, what can I do to better serve constituents and students? And then a really, really interesting question is, how is it that teachers and librarians working together can bring new value to the future of young people? So if you would be able to, really as the main piece of the assignment that we really haven't touched on, but offer some kind of prose or verse on that in the form of a post on your wiki page as we come into Tuesday, that would be a great help. Now I want to return back to the question of doing for just a minute. This idea of doing, so Dr. Broadway, I'd like to, if I could, turn it over to you because Dr. Broadway is really great about always posing the question in the conversations that I have with him. Well, this is all great, it's all great that you have all this talk, but what do you want students to do? And I think that that question in and of itself is a critical question, and it's frankly the reason why people put money on the table to say, okay, let's start to pilot this. Is that everybody wants to know, not from guys like me, not from guys like Dr. Broadway, not from the speakers that we've had in as kind as they've been. I want to know from you, what is it that you can do if presented with this type of content, with these types of ideas where you've done this type of exploration? Dr. Broadway, would you like to comment on that further?
Sort of put me on the spot. No, I think what we're looking, I think we are, and I include the instructors and the librarians and the teachers, sort of, from my perspective, I think we've had a lot of fun, and actually, I call fun the F word in education. This usually comes from the perspective of the instructor versus the students or the participants. So, but let's say there's been a lot of laughter, both that I've heard throughout the time. I think what we would like to do is zero in next week and bring this to some closures about what are the possibilities. Often, it ends and then we go on to something else. And the real question I think we need to wrestle with is, so how do we extend this? How do we move it in to not only what the libraries or the schools can do, but how can we use this in our day-to-day life and such. I've been just fascinated with the writing and the insight and insightfulness of the writers so far in this program. It's very different than what I get often in my university classes, who are learning the reading. And so my question is how do we get you to extend this beyond this time and beyond this setting to something that is the future? Because I see a lot of, if we go back to the beginning, the Where of Me, I see a lot of individuals in the writing samples I've looked at so far. And so the question I hope we can address next week is, so how do we move forward with this? Not only in terms of our professional and our employment, but also in terms of encouraging you as writers to continue to share your voice. Questions, comments?
Thank you, Dr. Broadway, because I think that was a really great kind of summation of we don't know, right? We being people that stand up and kind of shepherd us all through the course. We don't have answers. We don't know what this means. But what we think is that your input will help us to better understand what it can mean, right? So perhaps what you might want to do now in addressing your exit slip, which is the last order of business, maybe you want to talk to that a little bit. But if you would just take a few minutes, think about today's experience. You might want to talk about your persuasive writing experience, what was good or what was challenging about that. You might think about the broader topics that we just spoke about. But if you would take a few minutes and complete your exit slip, we'd appreciate it. And then we'll see you on Tuesday at 4 p.m. for our final week together. Thank you.
Oh, hi, can I ask a question real quick?
Sure.
Okay, it's been a little bit since I've looked at the schedule, but I thought the last two classes were for our presentations. Did you want to tell us, like, who should be ready for those?
Yeah, so when we originally published the schedule, is this Becky?
Oh, it's Kristen.
From Euclid.
Oh, hi, Kristen. We originally published the schedule. We were looking at doing writing and then lesson plan development, like back to back, all the way through the course. And what we've since decided to do is kind of relax that a little bit and instead focus on doing a little more preparation time in terms of writing. So we're not going to do formal presentations, but instead what we're going to try to do in an organized way next week is to develop some ideas that can kind of go beyond this class, whether it's in the form of lessons in a classroom, programs in a library, and so forth. So there's not going to be a formalized presentation next week, but in various ways we're going to ask for your participation to take what you've learned and share, all of us sharing with one another about ideas that this course may have brought to mind. Does that make sense?
That answers my question. Thank you.
Wonderfully so. Thank you.
Oh, so I want to go through that right now. So wait, I have to get here. Okay.
Click on class with me. So what follows, you're going to click on the link, so click on the link.
But it'll be easy to get it from my own computer because then all my documents will just show up, right? Just like your.
They should. Yeah, you just have to I mean, if they're documents.
It's just like attach an email, just everything will come up. Okay. All right. So if something's on this computer, though, that's what I don't know how to.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So I have something else started here.
Click on Gmail.
Oh, this looks like it's still connected. Oh, okay. I think it's, I don't, something still, oh,
And
okay.
then
Let's see.
there's the click on sign in on the top right side. And
Here, it doesn't take that.
The wiki thing is different.
I think it will if you do because you're the one that's sharing it.
Oh, okay. I don't remember. Is this?
you can use the same ones I just read. Mine is just a voicemail, not an email.
Oh.
But if you put your email in it, that's
Okay. Right. A grade's supposed to out. Of course, I'm grades stuff out. Teach you a long time. I can manage to get my stuff. Everybody else will be done. Get your work done.
Okay. Sign in again.
oh no, don't say that.
Oh, so that was it, because it told me to try again.
No,
But,
so
okay.
I think you're okay. Scroll all the way to the top.
I'm all right.
Oh. Oh yeah, oh, I'm sorry, it's here now. Click on it.
Oh, okay.